Welcome back, everybody. In this video, I'm going to give you 4 very easy habits that you can start to introduce in your Blitz chess games right now for immediate improvement. I'm really excited about this video. The third reason specifically is absolutely my favorite, so you got to stick around for that one. Let's jump into it. The first habit I have for you is, and this one might be a little controversial, but it is to play systematic openings. When we're playing blitz chess, you have to understand that speed is of the utmost importance. And what we don't want to do is waste time in the opening, get caught in some kind of opening trap, or have to go down some deep theoretical line of a really sharp variation. We don't want to waste time in the opening. What we'd rather do is play something systematic, something where we can just play our moves almost automatically so that we can save time in the opening and use it later on in a complex endgame or maybe a sharp position that might arise in the middle game. So let me give you a couple examples of what you can play. First and foremost, you've got the London system. You're going to play d4, you've got knight f3, you play bishop f4, and the move order might change, but this is going to be the general structure. You've got e3, you've got c3, you bring the other knight to d2, you'll bring the bishop to d3, and then you're going to castle. That's one example. Another thing you could play is also the Kali system. So again, it starts with d4, and again, the move order might change a little bit, but this is the general structure of what you'll be playing. You're going to play knight f3, you're going to go e3, and then you're going to bring this bishop to d3, you'll play c3, so again, we have this solid pawn structure here. We've got this little pyramid. You'll bring the other knight to d2, you'll castle, you're going to bring the rook to e1, and eventually you'll be able to play e4. So this is another great example of a systematic opening that you can play and just play your moves automatically, save time in the opening. I'm going to give you 2 more systematic openings that you can try out if the first 2 didn't interest you. So another one is called the Stonewall. So again, move order might change a little bit, but we're going to play d4, e3, bishop d3. We're going to bring this knight to d2. We're going to play c3. And then we're going to play this move f4. So this is characteristic of the Stonewall. We've got f4, we've got d4, so we're really clamping down on this e5 square. We're going to bring the other knight out to f3, we're going to castle, and we're going to try to bring this knight to e5, and now we have some great kingside attacking potential. We can maybe lift the rook, swing it over, we can maybe play g4. There are a lot of really good ideas here, but we have this incredible control over the e5 square. Another one I'll give you, the last one, is actually for the English. So if you want to play the English, this is known as the Botvinnik system. So c4, that's the English. Now we play knight c3, and we fianchetto this light squared bishop. So g3, bishop g2, and now we're going to play this beautiful move e4. So what we're trying to do is really just clamp down on this d5 square. We have incredible control over the light squares. So we're going to bring this knight to e2. We don't want to bring it to f3. That would block the bishop. And then we can simply castle short. We can play d3. We can bring the bishop to e3, queen to d2. This is a very flexible opening. You have a lot of ideas. You can push for f4 if you want. You can also just expand slowly on the queen side. This is a very solid structure and another great systematic opening that you can play on autopilot. Let's jump into the second habit. The second habit I have for you is to opt for the tricky move when you're in a losing position. If you know you're dead lost and you play normally, you know you're going to lose the game. Instead of just giving your opponent an easy out, trading down, or leading towards an endgame where you know they can just crush you easily, what you want to do is instead continue to create threats. Find the sharp moves. Find the moves that make your opponent think. Continue to create these threats so that your opponent has to work for the win. Don't just give them an easy out. So in this position here, I had the black pieces, and I'm completely losing. It's black to move, but we have no way of stopping white from promoting. White's going to get a queen. Once they promote with check, they're going to be up a full rook. White is over +4 in this position. Now, black has a couple moves that are equally good. There's king h7, there's queen g6, and there's queen f5. Right? So king h7, we get out of the check. Queen f5, we get the queen a little bit more active. It's a little bit more centralized. And then there's queen g6 that creates a threat, a checkmate threat. So guess which one I played? Obviously queen g6. We were both low on time. I'm completely losing already. I might as well create some threats and try to trick my opponent. So my opponent, of course, promotes with check. I have to play king h7. And now my opponent plays queen d3. This is a really nice move because it tries to get a queen trade. The queen is on d3, and it pins our queen on g6, so we actually cannot play queen takes g2 checkmate because our king would therefore be in check. Therefore, it's an illegal move. So here, you'll see that if you plug this into the engine, there are a couple moves that are, again, about equally good. There is bishop e4. There's also b5 and bishop c6. They're all pretty equal according to the engine, but guess which one I played? Of course, we played bishop e4. We're trying to confuse our opponent. We're trying to make our opponent play precise moves to hold this win, because otherwise we're going to be able to grab the win. So the only move here is queen f1, and my opponent was very low on time, didn't see it, and ended up just playing queen d7, and now I played queen takes g2 checkmate. So this just goes to show you that if you're in a losing position, you have nothing to lose. You have only everything to win. So play the tricky move, play the sharp variation, make your opponent calculate, and force them to grind down the win, because you'll find that you're actually going to win a lot of games just like this, just by confusing your opponent. They're going to run out on the clock, and they're going to have to calculate deep variations that they just won't have time for. Now let's move on to the third habit. The third habit I have for you, and this one really is my favorite. You might not have ever heard it before, but it is that in the vast majority of situations, you should not look for the best move. You should look for good moves. Now, if you're in a complex endgame, or you think you spot a tactic, you're in a sharp middle game, yes, look for the best move, calculate, use your time, and look for the best move. But in most situations, the best move is going to be just slightly better than 2 or 3 other very good moves. And in those positions, you shouldn't worry about what is best. You should just find a good move, play it, and move along so that you can conserve your time for those more important positions that I just mentioned. As an example here, I got the black pieces, and it's our move. D5 is the best move. It's minus 0.31 because we strike in the middle, and we also can threaten D4, which would fork 2 of white's pieces. So this is the best move according to the engine. But if you plug it into the engine, you'll also notice that the second best move, the third best, even the fourth best move, they're all very good, and they're just slightly worse. So for example, second best move, rook c8. This is minus 0.28. And we know this is a good move because it puts the rook on a semi-open file, activates a piece a little bit more. The third best move, rook e8. This is minus 0.24. We know it's a good move because, again, we activate the rook a little bit and we bring it to the center. Another good move, a5. We threaten a4 to attack this knight, and it can't move to any of these 3 squares, so it has to go backwards. This is another good move. In this kind of position, we don't want to waste time and try to find the best move, because all of these good moves we can think of immediately and play, save time for the more important positions. There's no point looking for that 0.03 difference in the evaluation trying to calculate and find these moves. Just play a good move and move along so you can conserve time for the more important positions. Now let's move on to the final habit. The fourth and final habit I have for you is never resign. Literally never resign. Do not resign. You know from yourself that when you get low on time in blitz chess, you make a mistake and you throw away the game. Or sometimes you've got a winning position, but you still just lose on time. The same thing is going to happen with your opponents if you just do not resign. You can put them in time pressure sometimes, but force them to beat you over the board, force them to beat you on the clock, force them to prove that they are winning this game. Do not give them the easy win and just resign. For example, I've got the black pieces here, and white is totally winning. White is an extra bishop. It's plus 3.8 right now. White is completely winning. But I was low on time, my opponent was low on time, so I still just played on. And we have a little bit of pressure here. We've got a couple pieces attacking this rook on g2, and most importantly, our queen is pinning this rook. Now, white has got to remove this queen from f3. You have to remove this pin, get this queen off the diagonal. If you can do that, then white will be able to trade pieces, they'll trade rooks, be in an endgame where they're up a full piece, completely winning. So white should have played bishop d5. This attacks the queen, and also controls this diagonal, so it kicks the queen off the diagonal, and then you can trade rooks. White is completely winning. White also could have played bishop d1, and if the queen drops back to e4 or c6, the only 2 squares to maintain pressure for this diagonal to keep the pin, then white can play queen c2. Again, attack the queen, force it off the diagonal, force trades, lead into an endgame, completely winning. But I was low on time, my opponent was low on time, and so my opponent played bishop takes f7. Looks like a good enough move, right? It attacks both of these 2 rooks, it forks them. Maybe it's good enough, but he ended up making a mistake. I played rook takes g2, and now the best move in the position is actually to sack the queen. You have to go queen takes, and after I take back with the rook recaptures, you'll see that my opponent has 2 bishops and a rook. I have a queen and a bishop, so this is actually pretty comparable. Material is relatively equal. We have chances here, but my opponent did not do that, Instead, my opponent played rook takes g2, didn't want to give up the queen and sacrifice material, but since he was low on time, he didn't notice that now we have mate in 2. We have queen f1 check. After the rook blocks, we take. That is going to be checkmate. This is a game that I won purely because I decided not to resign. I could have resigned like 10 moves ago. I was completely lost over the board, but I did have chances and my opponent was low on time. So I said, you know what? If you want to win, you have got to beat me over the board. You have got to beat me on time. You have to absolutely prove it. So do this in your own games. You're going to start collecting wins out of nowhere because people are not always going to be able to make perfect, precise moves when you continue pressing and you just simply don't resign. Do not resign. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. I have got a lot more videos on chess improvement coming out. I've got like 40 ideas just on my notes app, so these things are not going to stop.